through injuries is the hardest thing, is coming back, because you lose that mental edge. It's how do you get that back? And you really have to get yourself feeling good. And this product that we're coming out with, yes, it works. Yes, it's a feel-good product, because you're going to feel confident and feel good about what you're doing and what you're accomplishing, because it's instant gratification. You're seeing the difference in your shot after using it repetitively, you know?
What's the biggest wow moment or the biggest result or change you've seen from somebody using the stick so far?
And I broken record, but just confidence. You know, you have the ability to talk to a guy like Cam Atkinson, who had 41 goals this year at the NHL level. His second year as the All-Star, but your range changes. You know, and it's just again, it's the wow factor of mentally, I'm just ripping the puck. I use one every day. Yes, it's my product, it's our product, it's whatever, but I like using it. I couldn't shoot I didn't shoot well when I played. That was definitely one of my biggest drawbacks and regrets, and I can't say regret, but I didn't have the opportunity to do some of the things the kids did, shoot pucks and get on the ice all the time. The training's changed so much, and I just relied on hockey sense and playmaking ability and the ability to skate. So. Yeah.
We're looking forward to getting some of them down here and getting them in the hands of the kids in the DMV. I know a few of the kids that skate with us. Wyatt Hinkson, who played with the Seahawks in the EHL last year, he's been using one and thinks it's tremendous. So we're excited to expose our area to that product. But you're also involved in with a video product and company, 11 Hockey. How's that been going for you? And tell me a little bit about that.
Good, yeah. I was talking about Hockey Sense. I created a company called 11 Hockey. It's a video breakdown platform for players to help them understand the game at a different level. We break down NHL clips. We break down their own specific game clips, and a player has the ability to send me their shifts or send me their game tape, and I can pick it apart to what I feel is necessary for them to learn. Things they're doing, if they're wasting energy, if they're wasting time, positionally. One thing that's important for my company, it's understanding how they are playing. I think that's the most important thing. You see a lot of guys that do video out there and do other things, and they go by what they think is or what they know is the right way to play. But let's be honest, when I'm dealing with a high-level client, one of my players in the American Hockey League, that's the way they have to play. So I have to understand the systems the coach is preaching and the teaching points, because I can't go against, even though if I believe or if I think something can be done easier or more efficiently, he can just say, my coach wants me to do it this way. That's the way it has to be. So how do we make that way easier for you to play? How do we make it easier for you to play in that system? So there's so many different variables when teaching this video stuff that it's not just generic, do this because this works. We have to find a way to fit into the style of play, because I'll give Devin's going to Suffolk next year, and he could be the best player on the roster, but if he doesn't play well within that system and the way coach wants him to play, we have to find a way to make it mesh, make it work. So it's finding ways for guys to understand the game better, think the game at a higher level, and just kind of be one step ahead.
I don't want to get off the topic of your product, but just that's a big thing we run into all the time. I think with kids, it's coach wants them to do it one way, and they are used to doing it a different way. But at the end of the day, when you get to the junior level or above, if you don't do it the way the coach wants to, you're watching from the stands.
Yep, 100%. It's the same. You look at skill development the same way. And there's a lot of guys out there that do what we do, and there's a lot of guys out there that are great at it. Some just have a niche for it. But for me, there's no such thing as a pattern in a game. It's just, there's so many things that go different. There's so many split seconds that change the variables of every single play. And it's just kind of, teaching movements and teaching all these things is great, but they need 3 options out of that movement to figure out how to I love challenging players and saying, you did this, why? Well, this is why I did this. Okay, what if the play changes this way? How are you going to escape now? How are you going to do this? And just having them understand and sort out that there's no, a lot of people teach in a way that it's this is how you have to do it. And hockey's too fast of a game to, it's not like turning a double play, right? There's so much more going on.
Joe, we talk about with kids in our area, hockey IQ, hockey sense. In some ways, coaches here are restricted because there's such a wide variance, even at the highest level of AAA hockey in our area. You might have a kid who's going to go play D1 or even be a pro prospect, along with a kid who is going to be a fourth line 18U player and go play D2 ACHA somewhere. So how invaluable is it for our kids in this area to have access to somebody like John and his video product to really kind of learn about the game and get different perspectives?
Well, I think it's huge. The big thing that I'd harp on, especially utilizing John's products in the program, is feedback. No matter if you're playing hockey or you're in the corporate world or wherever it is, there's going to be constant feedback. Well, I think this is an opportunity to reach out and to get that feedback from somebody that has experience. But not only get that feedback, you're going to get a different perspective. And throughout, whether you're entering the job world or you've been there for 20 years, there's always going to be ways to do things a little bit better, and it's about finding those ways and fitting them into your style in order to be successful and to continue growing, not just as a professional, but as a person.
When you're working with, when you're working with kids who maybe haven't had the coaching or been exposed to different philosophies, is video the best tool to help them adapt quickly? Like when you're coaching at your level, say you get a kid from our area who's got all the potential in the world, you think he's a D3 prospect, but he gets up there and it's like, man, he just hasn't been exposed to these things. Is this the best way to get them exposed to that?
Absolutely. And teaching, like everyone's got and again, I said this before, everyone's got a skills coach. So they have to see it from the video side, and again, showing clips of what you do well, what you don't do well, and everyone looks up to the NHL players, and seeing it, side by side video of an NHL play and then your play, it exposes people to just differences, but it also allows me to say, okay, this is your biggest, weakest point. Go back to your skills coach and just say, hey, listen, I have some video I want to show you, or not even show them, just be like, we need to work on this. Because I think that what frustrates me about people in our field, and I guess frustrate's not the right word because everyone does it differently, but it's like a preset skills. Like, this is what you're going to go through, this is what you're going to do, and that's it. Like, you have to develop your program to help these kids with their weaknesses, So when a player comes to me and says, Coach, I need to work on face-offs, like my coach said, I'm awful about it. Well, he's paying me the money. So, like, if you need to work on face-off, regardless of what I think, if your coach is telling you that you're going to lose your contract because you're not taking face-offs well enough or you're not defensively responsible, it's my job to make sure that we make sure that gets better, So it's like you got to listen to your customer and you got to listen often. And I think the biggest thing we talk about hockey minds, and I've been very, very fortunate in my life to be around some of the best. I've friendly with Scotty Bowman and Barry Smith and guys in Chicago, and just it's all about delivery. We're all hockey knowledgeable, right? So we've been around the game. It doesn't matter at what level. We all study the game. Everyone's got different theories, but some people just say it so simply, and the delivery is just so good that it's like, oh man, like that's why I love listening to different NHL coaches speak, because you say things in different terms and you're like, that just makes so much more sense. This guy just delivered something in 4 words when it would have taken me 20, and it's just, I love different things like that. And, where I found success in players and youth players and all that stuff is using, just getting outside the box. Like we just talk about hockey. So, putting them in situations outside of hockey, relating to baseball, relating to soccer, relating to just being out in public. And, I'll talk for another half a second, but I had a few of one of the U.S. national kids the other day and his brother, they're going to Providence, and we're playing, and we're talking about playing with your head up and how it allows, when you're attacking like Patrick Kane, you never see him get blown up because he's always got his head up. And what it is, if I'm defending Patrick Kane and he's looking at the middle of the ice as he's flying down the wall, I'm hesitant to attack him because it's making me seem like something's open. Like I'm missing something in this play because he's looking somewhere that some guy might be diving down at the back post. There might be a guy coming in late. So it makes me hesitant as a defenseman to figure out what he's going to do. So, the analogy I used for that, and I said, listen, what would happen if If you're walking down the street and you don't know me and I'm just staring up at the sky, what are you going to do? And they're like, well, I don't know. I said, you're probably going to walk by me. You're going to look at me. And what are you going to do after that? You're going to look up at the sky. Because I'm sitting there staring at something and it's going to catch your attention. You have to play the same way. If you're coming around the net, if you're going, your head's up looking somewhere else, it just makes such a difference. And that half a second hesitation to step to that player or to stay passive because you don't know what's going on opens up 4 different new plays. So it's like different analogies that help kids understand why we teach things, why we do things,
Interesting. We in baseball, we always used to have different buzzwords that some kids would get it, and it just sometimes it was how you said it. A kid that wasn't getting it all of a sudden got it. So, like you said, it goes across all sports. And when you're talking about somebody like Patrick Kane, you had the good fortune of serving as an NHL skills coach with the Florida Panthers. How was that similar? Working with the guys at that level, how was that different from working with kids that you work with more often, or and how was it similar? I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to accomplish the same thing, just with maybe a different skill set.
Yeah, you can relate everything together, but it's just different. Where the youth player, you can do the same thing with them. You just might have to break it down in 5 different formats. When the skill set is already, an NHL player, they have a skill set that's obviously the best in the world because they're at that level. So, their ability to understand and grasp and do, it happens a little bit quicker. So, whereas you might have to teach a certain movement to get to the next movement, to get to the third piece on a youth player, because, talking for 30, 40 seconds, you're going to lose them. So it's getting into, this is the first thing we're going to do, and when we get pressure, we can pop out this way, and it's just, you have to dial it down just a little bit. So you're going from, A to E, A, B, C, D, E with those guys, where in the NHL guys, you can go A to E in one step, so it's just kind of, and it's the drive, and those guys, even the American League guys, they're perfectionists, right? Because they're getting paid to play a kid's game for a living, but they want to be the best they can. So, if there's no such thing as a bad rep. You're going to get, better and better, but, you see players that'll keep going until they get it down pat, and then you kind of move on and go from there. So,
anything fun? Any fun stories from working with those guys? I know at one point you told me that Trocheck was just ridiculous with the skill set and his hands.
It's crazy. You got a guy like being able to be on development camp with like Henrik Borgstrom and those guys. They just love the game. The stories they can go on, and you can talk about different moments but just being on the ice with those guys and just seeing how much they love the game. My biggest eye opener was my first year at development camp in Florida. Borgstrom was a first round draft pick. I think he was top 5 or whatever he came in as, and just. He treated development camp like he was a kid in a candy store. He worked his butt off. He in and outside the gym, whatever. He was always 100%. But man, there wasn't a time where the puck wasn't on his stick, where he wasn't smiling and laughing, and just he enjoys the game. He competes at a high level, but he's just got such an elite skill set that's just insane, And I think they get it, and it's the little you watch it. And to be around it, and just the little things they work on, like having a guy come up to you and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to stand in front of the net, just shoot 50 pucks." All right, because I'm just going to work on tips, and it's like they work on such the details of the game because they know that it's a lot of them. I think we get caught into buzzwords in hockey. We gotta go to power skating. We got to do this, and again, I think skating's the key to the game, but. Again, you're looking at things that there's no perfect way to skate. If you took the perfect skater, you look at Jack Eichel. His stride is by the book, whatever you want to call it. That is, and then you look at Connor McDavid, and he just flies. He gets up and down the ice, and the mechanics are so different between the two of them. So, you're looking at when I have an 18-year-old kid come up to me and say, "Well, I got to be." My stride's got to be better. We got to do this, and it's like teaching a kid to run all over again. That's. At 18, they've been playing the game for 15 years at that point, so you can't change much with them. Right. You can make them better, and you can make them adapt to their size and their ability and create space for themselves. But a lot of it, yeah, you're going to get quicker, but you're not going to change mechanics of an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. You can make them more efficient. You can make them more powerful, which